She thought she had found a dead white wolf rotting in silver chains. But dead things do not breathe. And this one remembered her name. Absolutely gripping premise. Let us dive straight into the darkness. She smelled iron before she saw blood. The forest breathed cold around her ankles. Wet leaves pressed against her boots. Something white lay twisted between the roots. At first, it looked like snow that refused to melt. Then the stench thickened. Old blood. Burned metal. She stepped closer. Silver chains wrapped the body like ribs made by human hands. Each link was blackened. Each link had sunk deep into pale flesh. The wolf was massive. Even broken, it dwarfed her. White fur clung in clumps, slick with decay. Flies crawled where a chest should rise. One eye was gone. The other stared glassy into nothing. Her stomach tightened. The air hummed, sharp and bitter, as if the chains still burned. She reached out, fingers shaking. The silver hissed. Smoke curled where her skin neared it. The wolf should have been dead. Days dead. Weak. A sound cracked the silence. Breath. Bragging. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The single eye moved. Low. Where? The chains rattled. Deep within the wolf something answered. Not pain. Not fear. Recognition. The ground trembled. The silver links began to glow red. Rotting flesh pulled itself together. Bones shifted with a sound like grinding stone. The forest leaned inward. Her ears rang. The wolf lifted its head. Teeth emerged, too clean for a corpse. The missing eye socket burned with pale blue fire. Its gaze locked onto her. Not as prey. As memory. As debt. The chains tightened once. Then snapped apart with a scream of metal. The wolf stood. Towering. Reeking of death and moonlight. Its shadow stretched across her body, heavy, alive. And the moment it opened its jaws to speak her name, the forest fell silent, and the earth beneath her feet began to split open. The ground split wider beneath her boots. Roots tore free like screaming veins. Cold air rushed upward from the wound in the earth. The wolf's voice crawled out of its chest. Not sound. Pressure. Her skull rang as if struck from inside. Her name pressed against her thoughts. Spoken by something ancient. Something that remembered her before breath. She staggered back. The smell changed. Rot faded. Ozone burned her nose. Moonlight spilled through the trees though the sky stayed black. The wolf stepped forward. Each pawfall crushed leaves into ash. Silver scars smoked along its legs. They never closed. They never healed. They pulsed like open eyes. She tasted metal on her tongue. Her hands shook so hard her bones ached. The forest no longer felt like a place. Felt like a witness. The wolf lowered its head. Its breath rolled over her face. Warm. Alive. Warm. Inside its throat light moved. Shapes turned. Faces pressed against the glow, then sank back. Human. Animal. Neither stayed long enough to name. She tried to speak. Her jaw locked. The wolf's remaining eye narrowed. The blue fire inside it deepened. Images slammed into her mind. Hands forging chains beneath the red moon. Silver melted with blood. Prayers whispered backward. A circle of screaming trees. A white shape dragged across stone. Her knees hit the ground. Pain shot through her legs. The earth felt warm. Beating. Alive like flesh. The wolf circled her. Low. Deliberate. Its claws carved symbols into the soil with every step. Marks older than language. Her lungs burned. Every breath felt borrowed. The chains on the ground twitched. Broken links dragged themselves together. They writhed like insects tasting blood. The wolf growled. The sound vibrated inside her ribs. The chains froze. She understood without words. The silver obeyed it now. The wolf stopped in front of her. Leaned closer. Close enough for her to see her reflection in its eye. She looked smaller there. Thinner. Faded. Like a memory losing shape. Its nose brushed her forehead. Heat flared. Pain burst behind her eyes. She screamed without sound. Her vision split. She saw herself standing. She saw herself burning. She saw herself chained beside the wolf centuries ago. Her wrists ached. Ghost pain. Real pain. Metal bit into skin that was no longer there. The wolf pulled back. His jaws opened wider. Too wide. The inside of its mouth stretched into darkness. Stars moved inside that dark. Not sky. Something deeper. Something hunting. The forest bowed. Trees bent inward as if listening. The wolf exhaled. The breath carried voices. Names stripped of time. Promises that tasted like ash. Her heart slowed. Too slow. Fear turned thick and cold. The wolf stepped past her. Toward the split in the earth. The wound widened further. A glow rose from below. Not fire. Memory. She crawled forward without deciding to move. The ground pulled her. The wolf stopped at the edge. It looked back once. Its gaze pinned her in place. Command layered over hunger. The chains behind her rattled again. They lifted. Links floated into the air, twisting, reforming. They shaped themselves into symbols she recognized without learning. Binding. Offering. Return. Her breath came in sharp gasps. The silver slid toward her ankles. Cold kissed her skin. Burning followed. She cried out as the metal wrapped around bone. The wolf watched. Silent. Patient. Not cruel. Certain. The earth below surged upward. Hands formed from soil and root. They gripped her calves. Pulled. The wound in the ground pulsed like a mouth. She smelled rain. Old rain trapped beneath stone. The wolf lifted its head and howled. The sound tore through the forest. Birds fell from branches. The moon finally broke through the clouds. Full. Bleached white. The chains on her legs tightened. Pain sharpened into clarity. Images flooded her again. Choice made long ago. A vow sealed with silver. A betrayal wrapped in mercy. She had not found the wolf. The wolf had waited. The howl ended abruptly. Silence slammed down. The wolf turned back to her. Its shadow stretched and split. Multiple shadows peeled away from its body. Each one stood upright. Each one wore a human shape. They surrounded her. Featureless. Breathing. The chains lifted her feet from the ground. She dangled above the opening earth. The wolf stepped closer once more. Its eye burned brighter. The fire spilled outward, touching her chest. Her heartbeat synced to it. Fast. Then slower. Then wrong. The wolf lowered its head again. This time its mouth did not open. The words formed inside her. Clear. Unavoidable. The forest shuddered as if in fear of what she remembered next. The memory cracked open inside her. Not gently. Not all at once. Pain came first. Sharp. Precise. Silver sliding beneath skin that had trusted it. She remembered standing in a circle of stones. Bare feet on frost. Blood dripping from her palms onto carved symbols. The wolf beside her was whole then. Magnificent. As like frozen fire. Bound by choice. Not force. She had spoken the words. She had raised the chain. The forest around her now groaned as if the trees remembered too. Her body shook in the present. Chains burned hotter around her legs. The shadows leaned closer. Their breathing matched hers. The wolf watched her face change. Recognition softened nothing. Understanding only deepened the weight in its gaze. The wound in the earth widened again. Light surged upward. Inside it shapes moved. Thousands. All bound. All waiting. The chains pulled her lower. Her thinned. Her ears rang with distant howls. Not from the forest. From below. Her hands clawed at the dirt. Soil slipped through her fingers like wet ash. The wolf stepped onto the edge of the opening. Moonlight traced the scars across its body. Each scar pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She felt them inside her own skin. Matching. Mirrored. The shadows reached for her arms. Their touch felt cold and familiar. Not strangers. Old companions. Old victims. She screamed again. This time sound escaped. The forest swallowed it whole. The wolf lifted its head. The fire in its eye flared violently. The shadows froze. The chains loosened a fraction. Her body slammed back onto the ground. Pain burst through her spine. She gasped. The wolf stepped closer. Close enough that she felt its heat through the cold night. Close enough to smell pine and blood and something older than both. It lowered its head until its forehead touched hers. Images poured into her mind like floodwater. The moment she hesitated. The moment she believed mercy could exist without cost. The chain falling from her hands. The circle breaking. Men rushing in with silver blades. The wolf screaming. Not in pain. In betrayal. Her throat burned. Tears streamed without permission. The wolf pulled back slightly. His jaws opened again. Words formed at the edge of her hearing. Not spoken. Pressed. Branded. She felt the shape of them carve themselves into her thoughts. The earth beneath them shook. Cracks spread outward like veins. The shadows began to move again. Slowly. Cautiously. They whispered now. Her name layered over itself. Each voice from a different time. Different age. Different ending. The chains on the ground rattled violently. Broken links dragged themselves toward the opening. They dove into the light below as if summoned. The wolf snarled. The sound carried authority. The earth obeyed. The opening began to close. Low. Reluctant. The light dimmed. The hands of soil retreated. The shadows shrieked. Their forms warped. They melted back into the wolf's shadow, forced and unwilling. The forest exhaled. Leaves settled. Branches stopped shaking. She lay gasping on the ground. Every muscle screamed. Her skin felt wrong. Stretched. She looked down at her legs. The chains were gone. Scars remained. Fresh. Smoking faintly in the cold air. The wolf stood over her. Larger now. More solid. Less dead. The rot had vanished. White fur shone under the moon. But the scars stayed. Always. Reminder. The wolf turned its head toward the trees. The forest did not hide from its gaze. Something watched them. Many somethings. She felt eyes crawl across her skin. Her heartbeat spiked again. The wolf stepped back. It lifted its head once more. Not a howl this time. A warning. The sound rolled outward in waves. Final. The watching presence withdrew slightly. Not gone. Waiting. The wolf looked back at her. Its eyes softened just enough to hurt. Stepped closer again. Lowered itself to the ground. Glows. Cool. The fire inside its eye dimmed to a steady glow. Her breathing slowed to match it. The ground beneath her warmed. The forest leaned in again. Not as a witness. As a participant. The wolf's shadow stretched forward. It touched her chest. Not heavy. Not crushing. Settling. Claiming. Her scars burned once more. Then cooled. She pushed herself up on shaking arms. The wolf did not move. It waited. Patient as stone. Certain as the moon. She met its gaze fully this time. The air thickened between them. The forest held its breath. And deep beneath the earth, something ancient shifted, sensing that the balance had begun to tilt again. The shift beneath the earth grew stronger. Slow roll. Like a giant turning in its sleep. The wolf's ears flattened. His body tensed. Not fear. Preparation. The forest darkened without warning. Moonlight thinned. Shadows stretched longer than their sources. She pushed herself fully upright. Her legs trembled. The scars along her skin pulsed again. Warm. Responsive. As if listening. The wolf rose with her. Its shoulder brushed her arm. The contact sent a jolt through her spine. Not pain. Recognition renewed. The ground behind them cracked once more. Not wide. Not yet. Just enough to breathe. A low sound rose from below. Not a voice. Chorus of pressure. Her teeth chattered. The wolf stepped in front of her. Protective. Possessive. Its fur bristled. The air filled with the scent of wet stone and old chains. She felt the pull again. Gentler this time. An invitation rather than a drag. Images stirred behind her eyes. paths branching through darkness, circles that never fully closed, a role abandoned, a duty paused but never erased. The forest floor shimmered. Symbols emerged where leaves parted. They glowed faintly, silver lines traced with root and bone. She recognized them instantly. The binding marks, older than the chains, older than the betrayal. Her breath caught. The wolf glanced back at her. The fire in its eye reflected the symbols at her feet. It waited, always waiting. The pressure from below increased. The crack widened another inch. Cold air rushed upward, carrying whispers, not words, need, hungers. She stepped forward without fully choosing to move. Her boot crossed the first glowing mark. The symbol flared bright. Pain lanced through her calf. She cried out. The wolf snapped its jaws once. The sound shattered the glow. The symbol dimmed but did not vanish. The wolf turned its head sharply toward the trees. Something moved between the trunks. Too smooth, too quiet. The watching presence had returned. Closer, older. She felt it taste the air, taste her. The wolf growled low in its chest. The sound vibrated through the ground. Roots recoiled. Branches shuddered. The presence hesitated, then split. Multiple points of awareness slid through the forest. Encircling, testing. Her pulse raced. The scars on her legs burned brighter. Light bled through her skin. Silver light. The wolf turned back to her sharply. Its gaze locked onto the glowing scars. Something unreadable passed through its eye. Approval mixed with warning. The crack in the ground widened suddenly. Too fast. The earth gave way. She stumbled forward. The wolf caught her by the sleeve with its teeth. Fabric tore. Skin burned. It dragged her back just as a hand of stone and roots surged upward. The hand missed her by inches. Fingers slammed into the soil. Clenched. Frustrated. The earth groaned. The wolf released her and lunged. It slammed its weight onto the hand. Teeth sank into stone as if it were flesh. A shrill sound echoed from below. The hand shattered into dust and vine. The wolf landed hard, rolled, rose again instantly. Unbroken, unyielding. The crack pulsed violently. Light flared brighter than before. Inside it, shapes pressed upward. Not shadows now. Forms. Defined. Hungry. She scrambled backward. Her palms scraped against glowing symbols. Pain exploded through her arms. The symbols climbed her skin. Wrapping. Binding. Her vision blurred. The wolf turned to her again. Howled once. Short. Commanding. The forest responded. Trees bent inward sharply. Roots tore free and wrapped around the widening crack. The earth resisted. The pressure below surged again. Stronger. Angrier. She felt it push against her chest. Against her heart. Testing its rhythm. Her heartbeat faltered. Then synced with the glow in her scars. The wolf charged past her. Straight toward the opening. Leapt. Not down. Us. Its body stretched impossibly long midair. Its shadow detached again. Split into many. The shadows slammed into the crack like living seals. They fused with the roots. Locked them in place. The opening shrieked. The sound pierced her ears. She screamed again. This time from choice. The symbols on her skin flared brighter. The pain sharpened into focus. Understanding snapped into place. She stood. Despite the shaking. Despite the burning. She stepped forward. Toward the crack. Toward the light. The wolf landed hard and turned. Its eye widened slightly. Warning flared. She ignored it. She raised her hands. The symbols along her arms aligned. Connected. Completed. The air thickened. The forest leaned in again. The pressure below surged upward violently. Hands clawed through roots. Faces pressed into the light. Mouths opened without sound. She spoke. Not aloud. The words burned their way out of her chest. Zach. The symbols answered instantly. Light surged from her scars into the ground. The crack screamed. The wolf howled again. Long. Furl. The sound carried power older than the chains. The forest shook violently. The watching presence recoiled, pulled back by force, not banished, driven away. Now, the light beneath the earth dimmed abruptly. The crack sealed halfway, not closed, never fully closed. Silence fell again, heavy, charged. She collapsed to her knees. Her lungs burned. Her vision swam. The wolf approached slowly, carefully, as if she were something fragile and dangerous at once. It lowered its head until its forehead touched hers again. This time there was no pain. Only weight. Only truth. The forest settled around them. But deep beneath the sealed earth, something waited, patient and learning, aware now that she had remembered enough to be feared. The forest slowly released its breath. Leaves settled back into place. Roots loosened their grip on the scarred earth. The crack sealed completely, leaving only a thin silver seam that faded into soil. Silence returned, heavy but no longer hostile. She remained on her knees, hands pressed to the ground. The symbols on her skin dimmed. They did not vanish. They sank beneath the surface, warm and waiting. The wolf stood before her, whole and radiant beneath the moon. No rot clung to its fur now. Only scars, pale and permanent. Marks of history rather than suffering. It lowered its head one final time. Not in command. Not in judgment. In acknowledgement. She understood without images or pain. The debt was not erased. It was transformed. Cured. The forest accepted this truth. Night creatures stirred again. Wind moved gently through branches. Life resumed its careful rhythm. The wolf turned toward the trees. Look back once. Its single blue eye held no fire now. Only quiet certainty. Then it stepped into the shadows. The darkness folded around it naturally, as if it had always belonged there. She rose slowly to her feet. Her legs held. The ground felt solid beneath her. The forest no longer watched her as a witness. It watched as an ally. She touched the place where the chains had burned her skin. The scars warmed beneath her fingers. Steady. Alive. Above her, the moon drifted behind clouds. Satisfied. She turned away from the clearing. Each step lighter than the last. Behind her, the forest sealed its secrets. Deep below, something ancient slept again. And this time, it dreamed of restraint.